Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Hart. Today I'll be going over the top plays for this 10-game NBA slate here on DraftKings, as well as doing a game-by-game breakdown. So make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Do appreciate all the support. Let's try to get to 40 likes on this video. That'd be huge. Make sure to check out my Price Fix video. We had another clean sweep. We were 11-1 on the past 6 videos, so great success there. That's just fantastic. Yeah, and yeah, let's get into this slate breakdown. So before I get into the breakdown, I just want to do a quick little recap of my lineup here. Finished with 336.75 fantasy points. I went with Steph Curry here at almost 15% ownership. He dropped almost a 70 bomb, 69 bomb to be exact. Very nice. Donovan Mitchell here at 63 bomb at 15% ownership. Scotty Barnes. I talked about how I really like Scotty. I mean, the early low core plays with Steph, Scotty, Jalen Williams, and Trey Jones and Nick Richards. And so almost all four of those guys were on fire. I mean, Steph a 69 bomb, Scotty a 56 bomb, Jalen Williams almost a 50 bomb, Richards had a 28, and then Trey Jones or Tyus Jones, excuse me, had 29. So the early look core plays were fantastic, absolutely insane. But yeah, Scotty Barnes 56, Jalen Williams 50 bomb, Nick Richards 28, Trey Jones or excuse me Tyus 29. Wish he could have done a little bit better. He didn't do that too good. And then don't ask me about the bottom of my lineup. Um, I had Larry Nance and then DeLon Wright, and then I was just waiting for the news there with like Victor Oladipo, with like Isaiah Joe, just all those like random guys to see what the starting lineups would be like. And I missed it by a minute. I missed the news by a minute to where it locked, and so I couldn't switch out of DeLon Wright, and I was just so frustrated. But I thought my night was over. But then they said he was starting. I was like, oh, like maybe he'll get something. He just didn't shoot the ball. Obviously, he's starting alongside Monte Morris, Denny, and Porzingis. Wish he could have done a little bit better, but yeah, I just got screwed there. I got locked with him, and then Larry Nance kind of got stuck with him. I was like, screw it, I'll just run it, and he actually did okay. So yeah, 336, another 2x night, back to back nights of cashing, can't complain. And we killed it on Price Picks again. So yeah, it's been a great few days here. DFS has really picked up in terms of that caching. It's been, I think, we're over like a 50. I'm over like a 50% hit rate, probably closer to 60% in the past like 2.5 weeks. Nothing huge yet. That is coming, but it's been solid in terms of like the core plays working out, all that good stuff. So let's get into this 10 game breakdown. There's a lot of games on this board right now that have huge blowout potential. This Milwaukee game, the Houston Brooklyn game, the what other game here? We got the Detroit OKC game has blowout potential. Utah San Antonio. That should stay decently close, but then Sacramento and Portland's another game that has blowout potential. So there's a lot of games we could target, a lot of low owned pieces that we could get to. So for the first game here, Milwaukee and Indiana. Obviously, the big news here is going to be Giannis and Middleton. Wouldn't be surprised if Middleton misses this and it's Giannis and Drew that leads the team. At their price tags, I love both of them in this matchup. They both look great. I don't think I get to Brooke Lopez. He'd be more of a contrarian play. You know, his usage jumps back down with those guys back if Drew and Giannis. So I'd pretty much just get to Drew and Giannis. That's it. And then, yeah, I mean, Brooke and Bobby could be GPP plays. I don't think there's a need to get some. The rest of the team just kind of priced up since that last game when obviously Giannis and Drew both missed. So thankfully, it's one of the first games we'll see if obviously Giannis or Chris play, but it's like if all of them play, it's really only Giannis for me, and that's about it. Indiana, or I guess you could get to Drew too at that price tag. He's still like a solid GPP contrarian option. On the Indiana side, Halpern's still out. Buddy Hield's out. Wouldn't be surprised if they rule out Miles Turner. So then we'd probably get a starting lineup of Nemhard, Matherin, Nuora, Naismith, and probably Jalen Smith, like they did last game. I mean, all those guys would be in play. I mean, they're all. I think my favorite out of that group would probably be Nuora or Jalen Smith. Noah, kind of revenge game here, 5,200. He should see about 25 to 30-ish minutes, maybe a little bit more if he's doing well. So he is a decent ceiling there. Jalen Smith, another guy, decent ceiling. It's just can he stay out of foul trouble? He should see mid 20s. And then I do like Isaiah Jackson a lot off the bench. He's the better point per minute guy between the two power forwards slash centers there between Jackson and Smith. He'd look great at 4,500. And then we could definitely get to McConnell. He'd probably come off the bench. I'd like him even more if he starts. Obviously, there's some blowout risk. He would probably lose some minutes there if the game doesn't blow out, but he's a great point per minute guy. So I do like him a good amount. Maybe we see some Brissett off the bench, maybe 20-ish minutes. But yeah, I mean, there's a good amount to like here for Indiana. It just kind of comes down to the Miles Turner news and the starting lineup news. On the Miami side here, Butler's questionable. It's kind of looking like he might not play again. If that's the case, obviously Bam and Tyler look great. They soak up all the usage, and they'd be way too cheap here for both of them at 7,700 for Bam. He looked great, and same thing with Tyler Hero, 6,500, coming off a great shooting game there, 46 fantasy points. So they both look great here. That's the big news. Now, if Jimmy is in, um, I still like all three of them. They're just contrarian options and over like standouts or must plays, but they all three look great. Struce, Martin, Love, Lowry. It all depends on if Jimmy's in. If he's in, obviously there's no interest in them. If he's out, maybe they start Struce. You could definitely take a shot on him. Love, he'd be okay. He only played what 19, 20 minutes, couldn't hit a shot, so it seems like he's pretty limited in minutes. And then Kyle Lowry, if he's out, I like Victor Oladipo. He started last game and just was pretty bad, just super disappointing. You got to have hindsight. You got to put that into hindsight because he could start again or he could come off the bench and have a great game, and you don't want to ruin that by being like, oh, he screwed me last game. I'm not going to play him today. So I think it looks solid, but it really just depends on that Jimmy news. On the New York Knicks side, Randall, quickly, Brunson, Barrett, Josh Hart, Grimes, Robinson, all in play. But the big news obviously is Brunson. If he's in, it's really only going to be Randall and Brunson for me, and then maybe taking a shot on Robinson and GPPs because we know the upside of him there. A game where they'll need him going against Bam. If he's having a good game, he should see close to 30 minutes. We know he has like 35, 40 plus upside. He's doing really well with the blocks and the double double potential. But yeah, it really comes down to Brunson. If he's in, I actually do really like Brunson. I think it's a great matchup going against Gabe Vincent, Tyler Hero, Victor Oladipo, a bunch of guards that can't really guard anyone. So I do like him a good amount. He'd probably be my favorite play and a really solid play across the board who'd be pretty low owned. I'd say sub 5% ownership. If he's out quickly, not like a must play like he was last slate with Brunson being out, especially in this matchup. He'd be more of a solid play. Randall, I prefer getting to him. He'd be great. Barrett, he looked really solid there at 6,200. Josh Hart would be a decent play as well. A guy that can do everything, stuff the stat sheet. Grimes, I'm not going to chase his career high games. I mean, it's just super frustrating and annoying there, but I guess you could land on him. And then Mitchell Robinson would be fine, and that's about it. Moving on to Houston and Brooklyn, one of those games where there's a potential for this game to blow out. But if you think it stays close, you can definitely get a lot of these guys at pretty cheap and low ownership. Right now, the standout to me would probably be, once again, probably these lower end guys like a KJ Martin, Tari Eason. They're both seeing, Tari Eason seeing close to 30 minutes, KJ Martin seeing with low 30s. But the rest of the team, and I don't mind the price on KPJ. He's seeing solid minutes in close games. He's been doing well recently. So I think he'd be probably my favorite one. But yeah, they're all priced about right. If you want mid-range pieces, you could definitely get it from this Houston team. On the Brooklyn side, Bridges, Dinwiddie, way too cheap there for the roles. It's just, will this game stay close? If it does, Bridges has been on fire recently. 7,600, the price really hasn't moved. Dinwiddie coming off a terrible game there, over 11. But yeah, we know he's huge upside, double-double upside. So I like both of them a lot. It's just, can this game stay close? Claxton has solid upside, but his minutes are kind of up and down recently. Cam Johnson, 5,900, scoring independent, but he's playable. Royce O'Neal, DFS, Shane Sharp, all playable. They'll get some minutes, but not much of a priority for me. Moving on to Dallas here versus Philadelphia. I do like Luka as a very contrarian sped up option tonight. So I don't think a lot of people will spend up for unless we get some wild value news across the board today. But yeah, he's going to have to do everything to kind of shoulder this team into the playoffs. Expect a huge game from him. Coming off of an okay game there. They finally won against Indiana, but not the type of Luka game we really expect. Kyrie's more of an interesting contrarian spin up option. Don't like getting into him with Luka back. And that's about it. Not really much interest for this team. If Kleber's out, maybe that's just a little bit more minutes for Powell. Maybe they'll throw McGee in there for 15 minutes, but no interest in that team besides kind of the top two guys. And the same thing for Philadelphia, top two guys. If they're in, I like the price tag a lot on Joel Embiid. Really came down there. Harden's is pretty cheap. Now, if one of them is in, I like whoever's in, and then you could definitely get to the secondary options like a Harris from Melton. I want to get to Maxey this price tag unless both of them are out. He'd be a solid spin up. But if one or both of them are in, really no interest in these secondary guys. So that's kind of the news there. Moving on to the Lakers in Chicago. Um, Anthony Davis, LeBron, D'Lo, all questionable. I think all three are good to go. If they are, I really still just prefer LeBron and Anthony Davis. Sure, you could take a shot on D'Lo, but I think they're going to move LeBron into starting lineup, and it's just going to be the Anthony Davis and LeBron show. Sure, D'Lo could have a decent scoring game, but I think I expect him to be more of that CP3 role, where he's just kind of in there to assist, maybe hit some threes randomly. But I expect the offense to flow through LeBron and AD, and they're really the only targets for me. On to Chicago, pretty cheap price tags for all three of the big three here for the Chicago side. So I think I like Vooch the best here. You know, Anthony Davis is a solid defender. Vooch has solid upside, so I do like him here a good amount at 7,900 in this matchup. You know, we know the Lakers like to play fast pace. Demar, Zach both look really solid. Zach's been great, probably having one of the best seasons of his career, and it's been very low key for a lot of people. They don't know that, but yeah, all three look great. Prefers Vooch, but Zach looks fantastic. Demar looks really solid. The rest of the team, Kobe White finally came back down to earth. Pat Bev's there. Yeah, there's really no interest. Moving on to Detroit and OKC. On the Detroit side, Jaden Ivey has been great recently in terms of scoring in games that actually like stay close. Even in the blowouts here versus Toronto, played 41 minutes. Blowout versus Milwaukee, or not blowout. They kept it decently close, 32. Blowout here, 30 minutes. Uh, two more blowouts, 35, 38. So it looks like he's playing solid minutes and blowouts. We know his solid upside if he is hitting the shots, and he's been shooting the ball more recently. So I think he looks decent here against OKC, 7,200. Same thing with Bagley. I think he looks fine there. He's seen solid minutes. Hayes, he looks okay. I'd still prefer getting to the main two guys. Wiseman's there, 5,600. It just his minutes have been down recently, so I don't like that. Duran, I think he's still one of my favorite plays on the side. Saw 28 minutes last game, so if he's seen mid to high 20s, I think he's way too cheap there at 5,100. So I like him a lot here in this matchup with his minutes going up, and that's about it. Moving on to OKC. On the OKC side, obviously the big news there is SGA. If he's in, he looks fantastic as a spin-up play against Detroit. If he's out, it just means Giddey, Williams, Dort, Isaiah Joe, and the other Williams are going to start. Out of that group, I still like Jalen Williams a ton there. He's great at getting steals. He's going to assume a ton of usage, and he's just been fantastic this season so far in the second half. So he looks great. Giddey looks like a solid spin-up play, not like a must play. Dort looks okay. Joe would still be, I guess, slightly too cheap here, even though he's pretty score independent. We know he has huge upside. So, yeah, that's kind of the breakdown there. Don't really like anyone off the bench there unless we get like a random start for someone. On to the Clippers versus Memphis. Clipper side, Kawhi looks like a great spin up. Russ is a contrarian mid-range option, and that's really about it. Just like those two guys. Sure, you could take a shot on like a Zubac and Eric Gordon GPPs. Batum will start. He's an okay value. Obviously, you can't expect him to shoot 8 to 10, get 2 steals, 5 assists, 3 rebounds, but he's an okay value. And that's about it. Moving on to Memphis. On the Memphis side, obviously the big news there is Ja. It's looking like he should be good to go. So if he is, I love that price tag at 9,000. Way too cheap there. Really no interest in the rest of the team with Ja back. He assumes a ton of usage and he's going to be starting. So it's pretty much just him. You could definitely take a shot on Luke Kennard off the bench. Seen mid-20s minutes. He's been super, super productive. I will say pump the brakes. You can't expect that type of production out of him. He's on a hot streak right now, but he is definitely there. And then Tillman, I guess, is an okay value play there at 5,300. He's been seeing 30-plus minutes past 2 games. Don't think we can expect that. I'd say mid-20s, maybe close to 30. So he'd be a solid value play. Moving on to Utah and San Antonio. Great game to target here. If Laurie plays, I like him a lot here versus San Antonio. If he's out, we can expect Kessler, THT, Olenek, Abaji, and Fonte to play. If Fonte's out, maybe we get a guy like JTA in the starting lineup. And it makes some of these other guys off the bench a little bit more viable. So we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, there's a decent amount of interest in Utah. Obviously, a great matchup here. Kessler's been very, very solid the past 2 games, staying out of foul trouble. And of course, the one game I took him, he played his season low minutes and ruined my $500 night. But yeah, a good amount of interest in these guys. It really depends on that Laurie market and news. On the Spurs side, Keldon Johnson's out, Vassal's out, Sohan's out. So we'll get Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Bates Diop, Branham, and maybe Langford in the starting lineup. I like Branham 4,200. Should see mid-20s minutes. He's a decent value play there. Langford would be okay. Who else we got here? Graham. mid 20s. He'd be a okay value play as well. No real standouts like must plays. Zach Collins would be a pretty solid play there at center, 6,400. But yeah, just a bunch of decent plays and no must plays. On the Minnesota and Phoenix game, Minnesota side, Anthony Edwards, Carl Towns should be both good. Both should be good to go. I like Carl Towns a ton here. 32 minutes in that last game, sat the previous or 32 minutes, then he sat the last game for some rest. So I think we can expect 30 plus minutes here from Towns at 8,000. And he's been aggressive in both games he's been back. 18 shots, 16 shots. We know he can get blocks. We know he can get steals, assists, rebounds. It just comes down to can he hit a shot. So I like him as like a kind of riskier top end option at 8,000. And that's really it for the Timberwolves. Sure, you can take a shot on Edwards, but I think Towns is just going to assume a ton of usage. On the Phoenix side, KD is back. It'll be interesting to see if he's on a minutes limit. I would assume he is. So at that price tag, I can't get to him. And with him back, it really takes out the interest for guys like Booker and Paul for me. I don't mind taking a shot on Ayton. I think he's a decent play. But yeah, that's really it. With KD back, it really takes out all the just interest for me in DFS terms for that Phoenix Suns team. Moving on to Sacramento here. Fantastic matchup. It's just one of those games. Can it stay close? If it does, Fox is just way too cheap here at 8,200. Not sure why that price tag is so low, even though he's pretty score independent, kind of up and down at times. But love that price tag. Rest of the team, there's strong secondary options. I just don't think there's a need to get to him. If you want to get to someone, I'd say Fox. 8,200 looks fantastic. I guess Monk's always a GPP play, but yeah, Fox looks great there. Bonus, if you want to ride a hot streak, you can definitely pay up for him, but I like paying down for Fox. And on the Portland side, obviously all these guys are out, so Shaden Sharp obviously going to be the leader of this team here. 5 of 13, game blew out, so he didn't do too great there, but I do like him. I do like Watford if he's back. Nazir Little priced at 5,100. It's just can this game stay close? If it doesn't, he's going to get a bunch of his minutes taken away because he won't play. Keon Johnson looks probably like the best play here at 5,000. Eubanks seen about low 20s to high 20s if it's a close game. So right now, I'd say the best plays probably would be. It honestly probably would be. I think Keon Johnson, and then I don't know if there's a need to get to anyone else. Maybe Wofford if he does play. I think those two would look the best to me. Other guys are just kind of like there. It's not like they're going to assume a ton of usage and have like career games. Maybe Nazir Little, but yeah, it's probably those three out of that side there. But yeah, that's going to do it for the slate breakdown. Kind of a big 110 gamer. Obviously, a good amount of news we do have to wait for, which will kind of change things. But right now, really liking Carl Towns in that situation there against Phoenix, liking Jalen Duren a lot against OKC, and then liking Vooch against the Lakers. So that is the 3 core plays for today. If you guys want updates, make sure to ask me questions on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at HeartDFS. Hit that like button. Check out my price picks video, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.